If you were born between 1960 and 1985, you were part of something that will never exist again. You were the last generation of Americans who had a real childhood. The last generation who disappeared for hours without parents knowing where you were, and nobody panicked. The last generation who built forts, explored woods, and came home only when the streetlights came on. The last generation who played outside until your legs hurt and your clothes were covered in dirt. This is the story of what we had, what we lost, and why today's kids will never experience what we did. This is the story of the last real childhood in America. Summer mornings in the 70s and 80s had a ritual. You'd wake up, maybe eat some cereal, and your mom would say the magic words, "Go outside and play." Not finish your homework first, not only 30 minutes of screen time, just go outside and play. And that's exactly what you did. You'd grab your bike, meet your friends at the corner, and the day was yours. No itinerary, no scheduled activities, no adult supervision. Your parents had no idea where you were, and that was completely normal. There were no cell phones to check in, no GPS tracking your location, no Ring cameras watching your every move. Your parents trusted you. They trusted the neighborhood. They trusted that kids figured things out. And we did. We learned to navigate the world without a safety net, without helicopter parents hovering, without constant supervision. We had something kids today will never understand: unsupervised freedom. But it wasn't just about freedom, it was about what that freedom taught us. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Your neighborhood wasn't just where you lived, it was your entire universe. You knew every kid on your block, every shortcut through backyards, every house that gave out the best Halloween candy. You knew which dog would chase you, which neighbor would yell at you for cutting through their lawn, where the best climbing trees were. The neighborhood was mapped in your mind like a video game level, but there were no save points, no do-overs, just real consequences and real lessons. Streets were for playing, not just driving. Kids played kickball in the street, basketball hoops and driveways became gathering spots. "Car!" someone would yell, and everyone would scatter to the sidewalk, then back to the game. Nobody scheduled play dates, you just knocked on your friend's door. Can they come out and play? That was it. If they were home, they came out. If not, you found someone else. Your social life wasn't managed by adults. It was organic, real, unfiltered. You learned social skills the hard way: how to make friends, how to handle bullies, how to be included, how to deal with rejection. No parent was mediating conflicts. No teacher was enforcing everyone gets a turn. You figured it out or you didn't play. That was the deal. And the adventures we had in those neighborhoods, they shaped who we became as adults. Let me show you what I mean. We built forts out of whatever we could find: cardboard boxes, old sheets, scrap wood from construction sites. These weren't Pinterest-perfect playhouses built by parents. They were rickety, dangerous, ours. And when they fell apart, we built them again, better, stronger. We explored. Actually explored. Woods behind the neighborhood, the creek everyone said was off limits, abandoned buildings, construction sites. Were these places dangerous? Probably. Did our parents know we were there? Absolutely not. But that's where we learned real risk assessment, real consequences. You climbed a tree. If you fell, you got hurt. That's how you learned how high was too high. You jumped your bike off a ramp. If you didn't land it, you crashed. That's how you learned physics and your own limits. Pain was a teacher. Scrapes, bruises, maybe a broken arm if you really messed up. And your parents, they'd patch you up and send you back out. "You'll be more careful next time," they'd say. And you were. We caught frogs and snakes, got covered in mud, came home soaking wet because someone fell in the creek, and our moms would just shake their heads. "Get cleaned up for dinner." Nobody called it child endangerment. Nobody called CPS. It was called childhood. But here's what really made it special, and it's the one thing I think about the most when I see kids today. We were bored a lot. And boredom was the greatest gift we never appreciated. There was no iPad to hand you when you complained, no YouTube to watch all day, 3 TV channels, cartoons on Saturday morning only. Miss it? Too bad. So what did we do when we were bored? We got creative. We invented games. We put on plays in the backyard. We created entire imaginary worlds. Sticks became swords, bikes became motorcycles, the backyard became a battlefield, a kingdom, an alien planet. Our imagination was unlimited because there was nothing competing for our attention, no algorithm feeding us content, no screens hijacking our dopamine, just empty time. And empty time forced us to fill it ourselves. We created, we imagined, we played. And in those hours of boredom turned creativity, something magical happened. We learned who we were, what we liked, what we were good at. We developed interests, passions, identity. Today's kids don't get bored, they get screens. And I wonder, when do they discover who they are? And as the sun started to set, there was one rule that every kid knew, one signal that meant childhood freedom was over for the day.
Be home when the streetlights come on. That was the rule, the only rule, and every kid knew it. You could be anywhere, doing anything, but when those lights flickered on, you had to be home. No excuses, no exceptions. So as dusk approached, you'd start paying attention, watching the sky, keeping an eye on the streetlights. And when they came on, chaos. Every kid in the neighborhood suddenly racing home on bikes, sprinting through yards, yelling goodbyes to friends. You'd burst through the door, sweaty, dirty, exhausted. "Wash up for dinner," your mom would say. And that was it. Day over. Dinner was at the table, as a family. No phones, no TV. You'd tell your parents vague stories about your day, played at Mike's house, rode bikes. They didn't ask for details. You didn't offer them. There was trust. There was independence. There was childhood. After dinner, maybe you watched TV together. Maybe you played outside until dark. But bedtime was bedtime. And tomorrow, you'd do it all again. So what happened? When did this all end? And why can't kids today have what we had? That's what we need to talk about. 1984. That's when everything started to change. The milk carton kids, Eight Pats, Adam Walsh. Child abductions became national news, 24-hour news coverage. America became afraid. Suddenly, the neighborhood that was safe yesterday was dangerous today. Strangers became threats, freedom became reckless, trust became naive. Stranger danger became the mantra. Parents got scared, really scared. And childhood freedom? It became child endangerment. By the 1990s, the shift was complete. Kids didn't roam anymore. They had scheduled activities, supervised playdates, constant adult presence. The 2000s brought cell phones. Now parents could track every move, text every hour, know exactly where their kids were. GPS, Ring cameras, location sharing, complete surveillance. And here's the tragic irony. Crime rates against children actually dropped since the 80s. America became safer for kids. But fear won anyway. Parents today can't let their kids walk to school alone without risking a visit from Child Protective Services. 7-year-olds can't play in their own front yard unsupervised. 12-year-olds can't ride bikes around the neighborhood. The freedom we had, it's literally illegal now in many places. And the cost? It's bigger than we realized. So what did we lose when childhood freedom died? We lost resilience. Kids today don't learn to fall and get back up. They're bubble-wrapped. We lost independence. 18-year-olds going to college who've never navigated a problem alone. We lost creativity. Screens replaced imagination. Algorithms replaced boredom. We lost community. Kids don't know their neighbors. They don't build friendships organically. We lost risk assessment. If you never face consequences, how do you learn limits? We lost confidence. If you're never tested, how do you know what you're capable of? And maybe most importantly, we lost joy. The pure, unsupervised, unscheduled, unstructured joy of just being a kid. Today's children are safer, more supervised, more protected. But are they happier? Are they more prepared for life? Or did we trade their childhood for our peace of mind? If you were born between 1960 and 1985, you were part of something that will never exist again. You had a childhood that today's kids will never understand. You were the last generation who truly played, who truly explored, who truly learned through freedom. And when you tell your kids or grandkids about it, they won't believe you. You did what? Alone? All day? And your parents didn't know where you were? And you'll smile, because you know something they never will. You know what real childhood felt like. You were there for the last one. And that's something they can never take away. Were you part of the last generation? Share your memories in the comments below. Time Capsule America, remembering what we lost.